And so why did you want to get involved in this particularly?
To be honest, it is more about, it's obviously from my point of view for sort of maintaining fitness, and also I just think it's a brilliant way to get the whole family involved. I think that's really important, and I think an awful lot of times, like I did a documentary series on trying to get this family fit, very, very, very unfit family. They were labelled the fattest family in Britain, and we tried to help them with some degree of success, but what became very apparent was it was the mother that was the key, and I think if you can get women interested, I think that's then all of a sudden the whole family becomes involved, and I think a lot of women are a little bit intimidated, especially if they're not. I mean, I'm not a very good cyclist at all, but now that I've got a bike that really suits me, and I find it quite difficult riding other ones, mind you, but once I sort of got a bit more confident, and got that confidence back that you've got as a kid, I've just found it absolutely great. For fitness level, for maintenance, particularly for your bum and your legs, it's fantastic. It really is. It's really good.
So are you doing a lot of fitness now? Is this something you've taken up recently-ish?
To be honest, I've done. I mean, over the years, I've done 4 marathons now. But not particularly well. But I have done them. I'm not a pit pony. I've finished them. And every year I do the moonwalk, which is the 26-mile walk for breast cancer. And I did the Comic Relief Trek, which was 100 kilometres. In North Kenya in February, which was an amazing and life-changing experience, and that's kind of I've always had something. I think it's really important to have some sort of goal, but it's all about maintenance. And I'm not a particularly sporty person, and it's about lack of time as well. So I find walking and cycling, which are once you get your bike, it doesn't cost you anything. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You know that. You know how fantastic that is, and also it's so green as well. It really is, and also I think with cycling it can be really social. You can go out. Me and my husband go out together. My daughter comes sometimes. You can actually go out on your bike and meet up and carry a picnic in the back. Nothing fancy, but just a wee picnic in the back. And you can stop off. And we're so lucky where I live in Scotland. We've got so many. We've got that brilliant cycle path around Fife, which is amazing. You can go all the way to St Andrews. It's at and all round the East Nook. And it's the most beautiful part of the country, and it's relatively flat as well, which is for me good.
So do you think the Sky Rides are good for people as a first thing for the family?
I do. I think it's a great way of going along. There's going to be loads of other people there. There's going to be lots of people of different abilities, because I think sometimes people would maybe be a little bit worried about joining a cycling club, because you have to. They would perceive, and they're quite right, you'd have to have some sort of level of being good at it, if you like. But something like this, where actually novices are embraced, even if you've never been in a bike before, and most of us have. Yes. When I was a kid, we used to go down to a wee island in Scotland called Millport, and we used to drive to Largs, get the ferry across to Millport, and you hired a bike in Millport and you went round. It was like a rite of passage. Everybody did it, and you went round the island and you cycled, and you stopped halfway at the sweetie shop and you got ice cream and pop, and then you cycle back round again. And I've got brilliant memories of that when I was a kid.
It's getting back these roads and trails, isn't it, for bikes? Because it strikes me that kids. I mean, we're in London. We just can't go
really
out.
Hard.
You go for a ride, kids.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I think that's
important. It still feels to me like a real battle between the car and the bike. Do you see it that way?
I think there is. I think it's a real shame that there is this kind of like they're almost at loggerheads, because they should be able to live in harmony together, and a lot of that has got to do with drivers being more considerate and cyclists being more considerate. I think just looking out for one another. Yeah, cool. But things like the bikes that they've got here in London, I think it's a brilliant idea, but personally I would be a bit scared. I would have to wait for the for the Sky Ride when there's no cars, and then I would do it.
You're being a wimp now. No, you're not.
But the thing about it is, though, what I loved about that was, and the feedback that I was getting in the day was really encouraging, because a lot of people were saying, I know this is a little bit, there's no traffic around, so it is slightly different from normal, if you like. Yeah. But what it had done was make them realise what they'd been missing. And so many dads and mums were coming up to me and saying, do you know, I feel like a kid again. It's absolutely fantastic. And I had no idea.
It's interesting what you're saying about women. Do you feel they're generally more reluctant when they get to a certain point in their life to start up exercise again? What's all that about?
Well, I don't even think it's so much that. I think they feel a wee bit intimidated because they think that maybe they have to join a gym. Maybe it's going to cost a bomb. And also, I honestly think it's not that they think to themselves, I can't cycle. They don't even consider it sometimes. And I think what I think is really important about this is to actually get women to think about jumping on their bike again, you know, and there are so, and the thing is, you know, if you were cycling when you were a kid and you were a teenager or whatever, the change in the amount of bikes that we've got out there, because my first bike,
they're just better, aren't
they? Oh, they're amazing.
They're
much more stable, they're much lighter, they're much easier, and they're much safer, I think, as well. Because my first bike that I had was a big, heavy, huge, big second-hand thing. That was great because, you know, when you're young, you've got no fear, and it doesn't matter, and you're away and you're cycling, and off you've gone. But I think I had 3 gears. It was hopeless. It was absolutely hopeless. But it was fine for me at the time. It was absolutely fine for me at the time. It was no problem at all. It was really good. And I found that, you know, it was really last year that I kind of took up cycling again properly. Because, again, like I was saying, I'm very lucky where we live, up in Scotland in particular. There's so many cycle routes, and it was good. So I always sort of kept it up. But last year sort of really got me back into it again. And again, I just realised, you know, apart from anything else, if you want to get a bottom like a peach, if you want to get buns of steel, you know, that's the way to do it. It really is. You're not going to do it by spending fortunes and, you know, being silly and having implants and all that blinking nonsense. You're getting your bike.
Absolutely. No, it's a great message. I mean, it strikes me that you're a great believer that, you know, if you're feeling fit and on the outside, you feel a lot happier because you do a lot on your show about these sorts of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Without, you know, you should never take anything to total extremes, but I certainly feel better since last year I was sort of on the way to fitness, because obviously last year I did the marathon last April, because I turned 50 and I wanted to do something, and it was really hard. It was much harder than the first time I did it, which was about 6 or 7 years ago, and I found it really tough. But I wanted a goal, and I like to have a goal. I like to be working towards something. So I was reasonably fit, and then we did that. I was reasonably fit, and then just before Christmas, you know, I got asked to do the trek, and I thought, this is hardcore, and I really need to train. I really do. So I did a lot of cycling for strength, you know, in my legs, and a lot of walking, an awful lot of walking. Yeah, I mean, I walked around London a lot.
But a lot of people say, I haven't got the time, or, you know,
I know,
and then a lot of people also, I think, you know, get to, you know, I'm 50 this year, but, you know, I'm always thinking, when can I fit in doing a
really
workout?
Hard.
You know,
it is very, very, very difficult, and I know, and I mean, I do Pilates, and I actually do it when I'm watching the telly. I really do. And, you know, if I'm watching Coronation Street, I will actually be doing stuff. Oh, thank you. So I do think that's really important as well. But you're right. But the trouble is, as I always say to myself, I am a real telly addict, and I do watch Corrie, you know, a lot, and I watch Glee, and I watch reruns of Frasier, and you think to yourself, if you can find the time to do that. But I think what's really important with women, especially if you've got kids, is don't look upon it as a chore and a task and something you've got to fit in. Take them as well, you know, or, you know,
because I think blokes are much better. I think, you know, when I think of the dads around my area, they go out and do things, which is probably just selfishness on behalf of the men.
You don't need to be doing it every single day. I mean, you can sort of, you know, put aside times at the weekend. You do have to make sure that you do that, and it is difficult, you know, because you've got, especially if you're a working mum, it's hard. But I just think sometimes don't make it a chore. Try and make it, because I don't think you can get fit and maintain. I mean, it's all about maintenance, isn't it? You can't do that unless you're enjoying what you're doing. So if you're not enjoying the exercise, you're going to fall off. You're not going to do it. You're not going to maintain it. You really aren't. And I just think, you know, like, going for a cycle with my husband or with my daughter or with my dad, because my dad loves cycling.
Really? Gosh.
He's really good. I
so
mean,
how old is
my dad's, well, my mum and dad are really young. When they had me, they were only 18, so my dad's 70.
Still, that's the great thing about cycling, isn't it? There's no impact.
And
really?
Fantastic, really good in the old legs, and actually, you know, it's really nice to do that and to have a wee chat with one another and a catch up, and make it more of a kind of, and like I say, more of a kind of social thing as well, rather than, oh God, I've got to do exercise for half an hour.
Well, that is the thing, isn't it? It does. Then it just preys on your mind, doesn't it? Which I think people think.
I think, well, it's a nice sunny day. I'll go for a cycle. You know, that'd be really nice, and you know, and just keep telling yourself all the time, you know, all the calories you're using up and all the fat you're burning, and you know, and for the old, like I say, for the old legs, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
And I mean, you were mentioning going to the Glamour Awards in your outfit last night, which I thought you looked great. I mean, but how other people reported? Are you conscious all the time about how you must look in public, or how you must look at those events? Do you because it could drive people nuts?
Well,
that sort of concentration.
I don't go out much. I really don't. I don't, because of the job. I'm always up really early, but obviously I'm not going to miss the chance to go to the Glamour Awards. And you know, I felt fantastic in my wee frog. Mark Hayes, who works with me, he's a fashion stylist, and he said, "You look great, you look really good." I put my hair up, put my slap on, put my lip gloss on, and off I went. And everybody said it was really nice. But you get a few comments, and it is quite hurtful. It is quite hurtful. But having said that, if that's the worst they can say about you, that they don't really like your frock, that's okay. You know, I can take that. I can put up with that. It's fine. And it doesn't happen to me very often because I don't really go out very much. I think it would be terrible if that was happening to you all the time. It would be really, really bad. But do you know what? It's fine. It's fine. It's just you sort of think, all right then.
Well, you've got a great attitude to it.
Do you know, it's part of the job, and I always think that part of the job is what I've been really lucky about is in breakfast telly. You know, nobody, when I came back from having my daughter 17 years ago, she's 17 today. But when I came back 17 years ago and I came back to work and I still look pregnant 6 months down the line, nobody ever said to me, none of the bosses ever said, "Oi, you really have to get you." Never, ever, ever.
Do you think they would now, though?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Would you feel comfortable coming back with? I mean, well,
yeah,
you ought to. I mean, of course.
It takes a long time for you to, you know, these blinking women that have their babies and, you know, they have the cesarean and the tummy tuck at the same time. It's totally unrealistic and it's not good for you. You've got to have time to, you know, bond with your child, and it's a very bad message to send out to mums, you know, as well, new mums, because they look at all these celebs and think, "Oh God, I don't look like that." Well, of course you don't look like that because you're normal and you didn't have surgery.
Yeah, quite.
You know, you're fine, and I think that's really important. But I think breakfast telly is very different from other forms of TV in that we're sort of allowed to be ourselves, and it's okay to be normal. You know what I mean? And I consider myself to be really normal. I just so happen to be on the telly doing a job I love. But, you know, it's just a job at the end of the day.
Do you see yourself as a bit of a role model?
I don't see myself as that, and I'm always really flattered when people say that, particularly, you know, when I came back from Africa, and folk were saying, "Oh, that was amazing," and, you know, they saw the documentary and the fact that I didn't have any makeup on and they could see that I was struggling and that we were all struggling. It was hard, you know, it was 48 degrees, it was tough, but what an amazing thing to do. And also, I think we're in a very privileged position doing what we do, because I'm not a medic. I can't go over there and give, because we were obviously doing it to save people's sight. I can't save that woman's sight. I can't give her that operation for glaucoma. I can't do cataracts, you know, and I'm not an engineer. I don't know where to dig the well to get the water. Do you know what I mean?
No, indeed.
But because I'm on the telly, all I have to do is put one foot in front of the other for a wee while, you know, and get a bit hot and sweaty. And you can raise awareness. And how privileged is that, to be able to do that? You know, that really struck me. And what struck me as well as doing that was how much stuff we've got. Like when we crossed the line, I always remember, like, everything just went. You know, they took my boots. They took, just local guys. The local guys were like, "What size are you?" And I'm like, "I'm a 6." "Oh, brilliant, that'd be great for my wife." Great. Okay, so we gave her boots away, my stick, my rucksack. I went home with a pair of trousers, a t-shirt, my mobile phone and my passport.
Good God.
The sense of freedom was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And the first thing I did when I went home was I went through everything that I do as assaults and threw out everything that I don't need, which was loads.
Gee, well, it was a real life-changing
Oh,
experience,
totally, because we've got far too much stuff. Much stuff that we don't need. We just don't need, and it's clutter. So I completely decluttered my wardrobe. I got rid of so much stuff. I gave it to charity shops, obviously. But I had a big charity shop clear out, which was great.
And on TV, I mean, how have you managed to be the great survivor of
it's amazing,
daytime breakfast?
Oh my Lord, I've gone from TVAM to GMTV to now to my own show. It's wonderful. I mean, I can't tell you, I am having the best time I've ever had on telly. I've got my own studio, I've got my own team. You know, before when I was on GMTV, I sort of perched on their sofa, and if they were, you know, if they had maybe a band in earlier on, we couldn't use that area of the studio. Say we wanted to do something else, we couldn't. So we were very, very restricted in what we can do. And now it's amazing because I've got, like, you know, this wonderful performance area. You know, I've got my wee area where I talk to people. We've got our area where we do punditry and, you know, newspaper reviews, more serious kind of stuff. And then we've got the kitchen area. It's the difference you wouldn't believe.
Yeah,
it's
I mean, I don't want you to comment on Daybreak, but it does seem to me that it's almost worked in your favour.
It's been fantastic.
Rather ironically.
I've got my own. I've got my own identity. You know, I've got my own programme. It's doing incredibly well. I'm absolutely delighted. You know, the ratings are really good, and I'm really thrilled about that because viewers have stuck with me. You know, viewers that have been with me. Well, I started in Breakfast Telly in 1985 as a reporter, and as a presenter I started January 89 because it was after Lockerbie, so you know Lockerbie was December 88. So January 89 I came down for a week to do the news hour, and I never went back. They just kept saying, "Can you stay another week? Can you stay another week? Can you stay another week?" So it was tremendous. But that's all about people that have been watching me for a long time, and that's where breakfast television is so different because it's all about like people like familiarity. They like the fact, you know, they like the fact that they put the telly on at 8:30 and I'm there. You know, oh, right, that's great.
And do you always think, "Oh, I'm sitting in people's living rooms"? Is that how you treat it?
I do feel, again, it is an absolute privilege. I never take it for granted. Never ever take it for granted. And I'm very aware of the fact that it's a bit like a footballer. It's not going to last forever. I mean, I've lasted a heck of a long time when you think about it. But that's wonderful, and that's really down to having a brilliant team round about me. They're amazing, and keeping it fresh. And keeping the enthusiasm. But what's not to like? Monday morning, right? This is amazing. Monday morning, John Hamm from Mad Men was on live. Jack Black was on live. Jai, who was the winner of Britain's Got Talent, was on live. And and James Purefoy, James Blinken Purefoy from Rome, and who's in who's in this Injustice. Oh, it was just a conveyor belt of fantasticness. Then I had to go. Then I had to go and see Tom Hanks's movie in a screening before anyone else gets a chance to see it. With Look at the Rain, with no adverts, no nothing. And then I had to go and interview Tom Hanks. How brilliant is that? It doesn't get any better than that. It really doesn't. On one day, I just bounced.
That was Tuesday's hard to follow.
It was. Well, Tuesday we had Matthew Morrison in yesterday from Glee, and I'm a real Gleek, so I absolutely loved it. So it's a joy. And you still have this double life where you spend. I commute. I do. Yeah. I commute. I come down on a Sunday and I go back home tomorrow. What I do as soon as I'm finished tomorrow, I start writing my column, and then I go home. So it's best of both worlds though, because I've got London, which I love, and then I've got home. Couldn't do it if my daughter was, because we lived in London up until my daughter was 12. We moved back to Scotland for when she was going to secondary school, and I couldn't have done it if she was little. It just wouldn't have worked. I would have hated it. But she's a bit older now, and she comes down to London for the weekend. You know, sometimes I stay down here, and it just works. And we've got iPhones, so we FaceTime each other every night. Blethering away on FaceTime for ages. I love FaceTime. It's brilliant. It's so cool. So that works really, really well. I mean, don't get me wrong. I miss her. You know, I do miss her and my husband as well. But sort of Wednesday, by the time I'm thinking, oh gosh, I'm really missing it, I'm home the next day. And I suppose once you get out there, I suppose in a way, it just tells you, right, relax. I completely, you know, as soon as I'm home, you know, I get my columns written, get that all sorted out. Friday, I usually write the body of it on a Thursday and then give it a wee polish on a Friday. I write my Sunday Post column as well. But yeah, home is home, and I just chill at the weekends, take the dog for a walk down the beach, go for a wee cycle, do all these things, just normal. Folk would probably think it's quite boring, but I love it. I absolutely love it. Does that help you keep? I mean, you always strike me as being really grounded. You know, you don't. Oh, listen, if I showed any sign, you're not a celebrity in Camp C, so. Oh no, I don't understand that. I don't get it. I think it's mad. I don't get it at all. And if I showed displayed any signs of being diva-ish, my mum and dad and my husband would squash me very firmly. It just wouldn't happen. I watched this documentary on the Gorbals last night. Oh, that's when I was born. Yeah, well, I mean, this was extraordinary. BBC One called Poor Kids, and there was such. I've taped it. Oh, how old am I? I've recorded it. I've sky-flushed it. I've recorded it. But then look again at your background. I'd forgotten. Brought up around that area. I mean, the poverty that's still around there. There's still a big drug problem and everything, but it has got better in the sense that, you know, the surroundings are better. They pull down all the slums, but I mean, if anybody can get themselves out of that situation and make a success, or to be honest with you, I think we were incredibly lucky. I mean, my mum and dad were real grafters. They really had the Calvinistic Scottish work ethic, and it was all about education. So when I was a kid. When I was 4, I went to primary school, and I could read and write when I went to primary school. Gosh, really? Surrounded by books all the time. My dad loves Shakespeare. My dad's one of these self-taught, working class, self-taught, very educated people. So he, you know, Shakespeare was just there. I also remember my dad had a set of vinyl Shakespearean recordings with people like Donald Wolfe and people like that, and we used to listen to them. And my dad loves opera and ballet and stuff like that. And I'm very passionate about the fact that opera and ballet and all of that should not be for those and such as those. It should not be. It's not elitist because it was actually written for us.
So in a sense, it's the in that case,
I mean, it's
the parents who drove.
If your parents don't care, if your parents don't or won't care, and they're sitting around and they're taking drugs or boozing, and they've got no education, and there's no books in the house, and there's no papers or magazines or anything like that. There's always newspapers in our house. Dad's a great reader, and I am, so I've always got a book in my bag. But it's yes. The answer to your question is yes, but only with that help from the parents. They weren't pushy. They were never pushy. But it was just always there for you. You know, Mum always read to us, and you know, and being able to go to school. You know, going to primary school, being able to read or write.
But you've worked hard as well. I mean, did they
I am
still
a grafter.
let you?
I'm a real grafter. I have got that Calvinistic work ethic. Absolutely. I mean, I've gone to my work when people probably would stay off. You know, I've gone to my work feeling terrible. I've gone to my work with food poisoning. I've gone to my work really ill. But it's that thing of we were never allowed to be off school. It was like, no, you go to school. What do you mean you're not feeling well? Get to school.
But do you think this ethic exists anywhere now?
I think in pockets. I hope so. I really do, because I think it's really important. I do think it's important. And you know, it's amazing how people say, oh, you're incredibly lucky, and it's amazing how lucky really hard-working people are, you know. But I enjoy what I do. I'm very lucky to enjoy what I do, so that makes a big difference. Yes.
Great. Thank you very much.
Not at all. Are you wanting some of these?
Well, I think
different angles?
I think I've already had my share. I don't know.
Have you?
I think I.
Oh, that's dead nice.
Yeah.